legends are built on myths, but Bruce Lee's speed was a literal technical nightmare for 1960s Hollywood. While other actors moved faster to look good on film, Lee had to intentionally slow down just to be captured by the frame rate. If he didn't, he was nothing but a ghostly blur. Can you actually track the strike that...
No, they won't tell you. But I know people he sparred with. I never mentioned their name. But Bruce Lee was untouchable.
Yeah. In your book?
No, I mentioned this.
broke the industry's technology? Mastery isn't just about the punch. It's about the terrifying economy of motion. Lee understood that the human brain reacts to telegraphing. So he...
Timing, the technique, unbelievable. Bruce was the type of guy that he would spar with you. He could spar with a guy. I'm not saying whoever. John Doe the Great, great champion.
Moved it entirely from his nervous system. By standing perfectly still, he created a psychological vacuum that forced opponents into a state of frozen panic. But how does he look right before he launches?
Yeah. Any size, didn't matter what size you were. And he would spar with you, and hands and feet. And then he'd say, okay, let's just go hands. Just hands. That was incredible.
That's Kung Fu.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, that's Kung Fu.
Like some people say to me, well, Bruce
is into a strike that shouldn't be physically possible. To the untrained eye, power requires a massive wind-up. To a psychological master like Lee, power is a product of total body alignment and intent.
Were point karate champions. They studied with Bruce Lee. But when they came to point karate tournaments, they made, you can make that adjustment to according to what you're doing. And Bruce would have done the same thing. I don't know if I told you not, but Bruce was, I don't think you asked me, but I will tell you that.
When he performed the 1-inch punch, it wasn't just a physical feat. It was a public demonstration of absolute body control that defied the spectator's logic. If you respect this level of mastery, subscribe to join our elite circle. Watch the shock on the volunteer's face. Speed is useless without the mental flexibility to apply it. Lee's be-like water philosophy wasn't just poetic fluff. It was a tactical blueprint for total psychological fluidity. By becoming formless, he moved faster because he had no rigid patterns to break or signals to give away. Watch how he navigates this legendary interview with the same lethal precision he uses in a street fight. This level of speed isn't exclusive to the martial arts world. It exists in the boxing ring as a form of calculated dominance. Muhammad Ali utilized the same psychological blurring during the infamous Phantom Punch.
Know how great he was. I mean, people always ask me to come up here, they say, Jim, how great was it? You don't really know, and a lot of people won't tell you how great he was, but I will tell you. In my opinion, Bruce Lee was a step above everybody. I mean, everybody. During that era. I mean, it holds up today, but during...
Against Sonny Liston. Like Lee, Ali used speed to gaslight his opponents into doubting their own senses. Did Liston even see the punch that ended the fight? Watch closely. When scientists eventually tested these movements, they found that it wasn't just muscle. It was the brain's ability to coordinate multiple muscle groups in a single unified burst of energy. This is focal point mastery, where every ounce of weight is transferred in a millisecond. The result is a strike that lands before the opponent's eyes can even blink.
Bruce was, boom, just a little step above. He was just totally unbelievable. I'm talking about sparring. I'm not talking about just working techniques. I'm talking about when Bruce was unbelievable.
You spot the moment the impact actually registers? Bruce Lee's speed wasn't just a challenge for his opponents. It was a crisis for the technology of his time. Standard 24 frame per second cameras literally could not capture his strikes, resulting in a blurred mess that looked fake on screen. He had to physically slow his movements down just so the audience could perceive the impact. Look at this raw footage and tell me, can the human eye even track this? The true genius of Jeet Kune Do isn't in the hit, but in the interception. Lee mastered the art of the stop hit, which requires a neurological reaction time that borders on the supernatural. He didn't wait for a punch to finish. He struck the moment he sense the opponent's intent. Do you see the exact microsecond his opponent's shoulder twitches before Lee shuts him down? This level of kinetic invisibility isn't reserved for the lightweight masters. Enter Mike Tyson, the man who proved that terrifying mass could move with the velocity of a piston. Tyson utilized the peekaboo style to turn his entire body into a slipping, sliding weapon that vanished from the center line. How does a man of his size disappear from a direct line of sight in under a second? Tyson's speed was a psychological meat grinder. When an opponent throws a punch and hits nothing but air, their confidence evaporates instantly. This is defensive aggression, where every missed blow by the opponent is a trap designed to lead them into a knockout. Watch the moment this fighter realizes he's punching a ghost right before the lights go out. If Lee was water and Tyson was a hurricane, then Roy Jones Jr. was electricity. Jones defied every fundamental rule of boxing.
Bruce was the type, let's put it this, Bruce was the type of guy that could spar with you, hands and feet. Then after that, he'll say to you, he'll say, okay, let's go.
By keeping his hands at his waist, relying entirely on his godlike reflexes to bail him out. He didn't just beat people, he humiliated them with the sheer gap in their processing speeds. How's he landing a lead hook while his hands are literally behind his back? Mastery at this level allows a fighter to play with their food. Jones used his speed to gaslight world-class champions, making them look like amateurs in a choreographed dance. It's a terrifying display of calculation. Dominance where the outcome is decided before the punch even lands. Can you spot the exact moment he decides the fight is over and starts to toy with his opponent? This phenomenon of slow motion perception reached its peak in the octagon with Anderson the Spider Silva. Silva operated in a higher dimension of timing, often standing perfectly. Still against the cage and dodging strikes by mere millimeters. It wasn't luck. It was a deep reading of body mechanics and distance. Is it possible for a human to move like he's living in the Matrix? To reach this state of flow, Bruce Lee underwent a physical conditioning regime that was decades ahead of its time. He focused on functional tension, ensuring that every muscle could transition from total relaxation to absolute rigidity in a heartbeat. The snap is what generates the explosive force of a bullet. Watch the tension in his forearms. Can you feel the power being concentrated into a single point? The foundation of this speed wasn't just in the hands, but in the feet. Lee was a master of the step and slide, a fencing-inspired footwork pattern that allowed him to close a 6-foot gap in the blink of an eye. He was already in your space. Before your brain could register, he had moved. Watch how he glides across the floor without his head ever changing height. Sugar Ray Leonard took this footwork and turned it into a weapon of psychological warfare. He used his bolo punch.
He waits for the strike, counters it, and then retaliates with deadly precision. Bruce Lee's counterpunch is seen hitting his student's face squarely. His attack with a simple judo throw, bringing Ted Wong
And rapid-fire flurries, not just to damage, but to confuse the opponent's internal rhythm. Like Lee, Leonard knew that if you control the tempo, you control the man. Can you count the number of punches he throws in this 3-second window? The ultimate goal of these masters is Zanshin, a state of relaxed alertness where there is no gap between perception and action. Whether it's Lee's stillness, Ali's shuffle, or Tyson's slip, they all inhabit a space where the opponent's movements are predicted, not just reacted to. But what happens when two masters of this caliber actually
Getting back up, Ted Wong tries to attack with a spinning kick. But once again, Bruce Lee easily... From this fight, we can see that Lee also mastered and incorporated grappling techniques into it.
face off in the mind? Ultimately, the dragon wasn't a myth because of his muscles. He was a legend because of his mind. Lee understood that the body is just a tool for the nervous system. By optimizing his brain to muscle connection, he became the fastest human ever recorded in combat sports history. If this level of mastery feels impossible,
Student of Bruce Lee known as a grappler. Larry mentioned that Bruce Lee had 33 his martial art of Jeet Kune Do. Additionally, it is known that he been trained with other famous martial artists.
look at the face of the people who stood across from him. Do they look like they're fighting a man or a force of nature? This speed wasn't just a physical trait, it was a neurokinetic breakthrough. Lee mastered the 1-inch punch by utilizing his entire body as a whip, starting from the legs and snapping through the wrist. It's not about muscle mass, but about the terrifying efficiency of the kinetic chain.
According to several sources, Lee and Wall met at a held in Los Angeles in 1963. A few years later, they became closer, fight in a film scene in Enter.
See if your eyes can track the impact before the target even reacts. When Lee's physical facts blend into the impossible, we see this same calculated dominance in Muhammad Ali. Ali didn't just dodge punches, he operated on a different temporal plane. By leaning back with his hands down, he baited opponents into a false sense of security, only to strike with a phantom punch that defied the human nervous system. Does this look like boxing or magic? This mastery of the gap is what allowed Mike Tyson to become the youngest heavyweight champion in history. While Lee used distance, Tyson used the peekaboo style to vanish in plain sight. He would slip a jab and reappear at an angle where the opponent was completely defenseless. Watch how he occupies the exact space his opponent just vacated. Is he even human? Whether it's Lee's snap, Ali's rhythm, or Tyson's aggression, these men prove that speed is the ultimate equalizer. They didn't just fight, they dictated the very reality of the encounter. They owned the air in the room, forcing the world to move at their pace. But the ultimate question remains: who is the next master to bridge this gap? The legacy of the dragon is not found in his films, but in the obsession with perfection he left behind. Bruce Lee taught us that when you remove all classical mess, what remains is the purest form of human potential. If you're ready to master your own craft with this level of intensity, hit subscribe to join the elite. Are you ready to become water? Bruce Lee didn't just train his muscles, he rewired his entire consciousness to achieve a state of mushin, or no mind. This isn't mystical fluff, it's the clinical elimination of hesitation. By removing the ego, Lee became a reactive machine that moved before his opponent could even process a thought. Is it possible to see the exact moment his mind shuts off and his instinct takes over? This same calculated dominance was perfected in the modern era by Floyd "Money" Mayweather. Like Lee, Floyd didn't need to rely on raw power.
Video shows Bruce Lee and Bob Wall preparing for a fight scene in this film. Video, the closeness between Lee and Wall during their training
Utilize the shoulder roll to make it impossible for opponents to exist in his space. It is a masterclass in economy of motion that leaves legends looking like amateurs. Can you spot the frustration in his opponent's eyes as they realize they're hitting ghosts? What connects these icons isn't their specific style, but their absolute refusal to be dictated by their environment. They don't merely react to the fight, they are the fight. Whether it's Lee's philosophical speed or Mayweather's defensive genius, they prove that true mastery is about the total ownership of every millisecond. But what happens when that ownership becomes a literal aura of invincibility? The history of combat is a timeline of men who refuse to be ordinary. Bruce Lee's "Be Water" philosophy isn't just a suggestion, it's a blueprint for absolute dominance in any field of human endeavor. If you are ready to stop being a spectator and start dictating the pace of your own life, you must study the elite. Subscribe now to join those who refuse to settle for the classical mess. Are you ready to evolve? Mayweather owned the space through defense, but Mike Tyson achieved the same dominance through pure psychological terror. This is Mushin applied to aggression, a state where the opponent is defeated before the first round even begins. It's the raw, unfiltered presence that Lee called the honest expression of oneself. Can you see the exact second his opponent's courage evaporates? This level of mastery isn't limited to the ring, it is the universal hallmark of the apex competitor. Michael Jordan mirrored Lee's obsession, turning the basketball court into a theater of calculated psychological warfare. He didn't just play the game, he dictated the very air the other team breathed through sheer, unrelenting will. What happens when an opponent realizes they are merely a prop in his legend? Kobe Bryant eventually took the Be Water blueprint and refined it into the Mamba mentality. It is the final form of Bruce Lee's obsession, a relentless 24-hour pursuit of removing everything that is not essential to victory. This is the path of the elite, where excuses die and legends are forged. Do you have the discipline to follow him into the dark? The thread connecting Lee, Mayweather, Tyson, and Jordan is a refusal to be defined by anyone else's limits. They owned every millisecond because they mastered themselves first. If you are ready to stop watching history and start writing your own, hit subscribe now to join this brotherhood of excellence. The only question remains, are you ready to become the master of your own craft?